I want to give a shout out to Thomas McCone. Hope I said that right. I appreciate you for sending this in, showing us so I can do a show and tell on the channel. So you're seeing the first image you're seeing on the screen now is the Sprint coverage for this area that you're seeing in Florida. Now, a good part of this, I'm told, is a national forest, and no carrier has 100% coverage in this area, even AT&T and Verizon, I'm told. Now, the poorest coverage, even before the merger, was always T-Mobile in this area. As you can see, the yellow covers very well. So Sprint had good coverage in that area. Now, I don't know about performance, but they've had coverage. So now, and we've said this before, this is an area where T-Mobile is going to be able to take advantage of Sprint keep sites that are for coverage. And although they're still going to have to build more sites, they're going to have to build new site builds to get that coverage out into the more rural areas. And for those of you who are still commenting, well, they don't cover this rural area, of course, they can't just flip a switch and get all of rural covered. They have to go build. They have to build new sites. They're going to have to go through the permitting process. So that's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight, but they're growing the coverage. They're growing it bit by bit. So this area right now, what you're seeing on screen is the Sprint map. Of course, there won't be an after anymore because that's Sprint is gone. But the next picture, this one, that's the before coverage from T-Mobile. As you can see, very poor, very thin. Right along the main white line, you can see there is some coverage. But as you look up there where the darker lines are going through the magenta, that's roaming. So they've had some roaming agreements in that area. But you can see there's a lot of white. There's a lot of white. And there are a lot of, sprinkled, let's call it sprinkled magenta dots. That calls for very weak and fair coverage. Now, that's what the area was before. So in that area, of course, T-Mobile probably didn't compete well. Probably lots of customers had Sprint, had AT&T and still have Verizon. Sprint customers in the area are now, of course, T-Mobile's. But for T-Mobile to better compete, to further grow the base there and, get home internet out there perhaps and, get you covered on the camping trips, they got work to do, right? So in that area, it just makes sense to convert the Sprint keep sites at a good clip, and that'll gain you coverage. So here's an after photo of the area now. As you can see, it's much more filled in. There's still roaming, as you can see, but with time, comparing that to the Sprint map, they're going to have a much wider footprint. Now, did Sprint cover all of it 100%? Probably not. Even though on the picture you did see a lot of yellow, there's probably still going to be some new site builds, brand new site builds needed for T-Mobile to fully cover that area 100%. But for the meantime, T-Mobile is getting better, and that's what counts right now. That's the big deal, in my opinion, from a competition standpoint. Because if the competition is going the way it's going and T-Mobile is continuing to grow, the others are going to have to make corrections. AT&T and Verizon, they're going to have to do some off-the-wall unique stuff to compete back. They can't just keep feeding the switching pool and T-Mobile taking it. And the MVNO space too. If you have nobody that pays you, then your services, what good are they? Right? If you keep losing customers over and over and over, eventually you're gonna have to wake up. And T-Mobile doing this, expanding the coverage in this part and other parts too, they're gonna feel the heat. And that's why I said in the previous video, T-Mobile, they just have to be good enough now. And like I said, I don't know if it matters anymore as to who has the best network. As long as T-Mobile is comparable and the pricing is better, the deals, and they keep putting in all this other stuff, they're going to be a fierce competitor. They're going to be very fierce. So this is only a small percentage of what we're seeing, right? The coverage expanding for T-Mobile. They're further improving the performance at the urban core. In the second half of the year, coverage is taking priority, I'm told. So there's going to be a heavy influx of Sprint keep sites that'll be upgraded in the third quarter and the fourth quarter. I know there's going to in the fourth quarter, at the end of the third quarter going into the fourth quarter, there's going to be some areas that are going to have a tough time because of the weather. But T-Mobile is still saying that they're going to be able to finish the keep sites this year, which is very important because they don't really have a huge capital going into 23 to really put to the side for additional keep sites, because 23 is all about rule and the expansion. So shout out again to Thomas. I appreciate you sending this in. This is good, so we can do it with more show and tell on the channel. Let me know if you're in this area. Let me know what you're experiencing. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe to the channel. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Life. I'll see you in the next one.